Today we're going to break down how to post your very first transaction in SAP FICO. We're going to turn what seems like a really complex process into a simple visual guide, and I'll walk you through it step by step.
Okay, let's dive in. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the foundational concepts, the real building blocks. Then we'll create the essential master data, things like cost and profit centers. After that, we get to the main event, posting the actual transaction. And, maybe most importantly, we'll learn how to troubleshoot the common errors you might run into.
Before we can post anything, we really need to lay the groundwork. It's all about understanding the fundamental pieces we'll be working with inside the SAP system.
So here's the thing you have to get about SAP. Transactions don't just exist in a vacuum. They rely on something called master data. Just think of this as the permanent, reusable information in your system. You know, the core records for things like customers, vendors, and for what we're doing today, the cost centers and profit centers we're about to create.
All right, let's get our hands dirty. Our first piece of master data is a cost center. The best way to think of this is as a bucket where you collect specific types of costs. This lets you track exactly where the company's money is being spent, say on marketing or administration or even a specific production line.
So how do we start? Well, in SAP, use something called a transaction code, or T-code for short. Think of it like a command or a shortcut. For creating a cost center, the T-code is KS1. You just type that in, hit enter, and it takes you straight to the creation screen.
And once you're in, it's actually pretty simple. It really boils down to three key things. First, you set your controlling area. This is kind of like the main organizational unit for all your cost accounting. Second, you define the validity period, which is just the start and end date for when this cost center can actually be used. And third, you fill in all the master data details.
Now this is where we give our cost center its identity. You'll give it a name, you'll assign a person who's responsible for its budget, and you'll place it in the correct hierarchy area. That hierarchy is basically just the org chart for all your cost centers. Once you fill that in and hit save, it's created. Simple as that.
Excellent. We've got our costs covered. But that's only half the story, right? Now we need to build out the other side of the equation, the profit center. This is where we track revenues and ultimately figure out profitability.
Now, creating a profit center is a little more involved. It's not a one-shot deal like the cost center. It needs a few setup steps first. You have to set up its hierarchy, activate the right version, and then, this is important, create a dummy profit center. This dummy is crucial because it acts like a safety net, automatically catching any postings that haven't been assigned to a specific profit center. Only after all that is done can you finally create your actual profit center.
Okay, listen up, because this is super important and a classic rookie mistake. When you save a new profit center, it's created in an inactive state. You have to manually click the Activate button to make it usable. It's a small step, but it's absolutely vital, and it trips up a lot of people.
All right, the stage is set, our master data is in place. Now for the main event. It's time to post a general ledger, or GL, transaction. We're going to use the super user-friendly T-code FB50 to do it.
So when you look at any transaction in SAP, you'll see it's basically split into two main sections. You've got the header data, that's all the info that's common for the whole entry, like the date and currency. And then you have the line item data, which holds the nitty-gritty details of each individual debit and credit.
So we start at the top with the header. We'll confirm our company code, and we'll enter the document and posting dates. Now, the posting date is the really critical one here. Why? Because the system is going to use that date to figure out the right accounting period, and it will check to make sure that period is even open for business.
Okay, line 1. This is our expense. We're going to select the GL account for rent, choose debit, put in the amount, and here's the magic moment. We're going to assign it to that brand new cost center we just made. See how it all connects? This is how we track that specific cost. Now, accounting 101, right? Every debit needs a credit. So we have to create a second line to balance things out. We'll use the cash account, select credit, and enter the exact same amount. This shows where the money for the rent came from. And notice this, because cash isn't a cost, you don't need a cost center here.
Now, you might be wondering what's happening under the hood. Well, SAP is using something called posting keys, like 40 for a debit and 50 for a credit, to handle all the accounting logic. But the great thing about a screen like this is, you just click debit or credit, and the system takes care of all that complexity for you. Okay, let's be real. Especially when you're starting out in a complex system like SAP, things don't always go perfectly on the first try. So let's talk about what happens when SAP says nope and how to fix it.
So you hit post and bam, you get a big red error message at the bottom of the screen. First thing, Don't panic. Seriously, an error isn't a failure. It's actually the system guiding you, telling you exactly what needs to be fixed before it can continue. Think of it like a helpful little checklist. These here are the greatest hits of posting errors. A closed posting period is a super common one. You just need to go open it. If the system says it needs a CO object, that's just SAP speak for, hey, you forgot to assign a cost center to your expense line. Sometimes a field is required just because of your system setup. The good news is all of these have pretty straightforward fixes. And then, after you fixed whatever little thing was wrong, you hit post again, and you get the beautiful green success message. It gives you a unique document number, and it confirms your transaction is officially and successfully posted.
And just like that, that's one. You did it. You've officially gone from 0 to 1, and way more importantly, you now have a repeatable process that takes the mystery out of one of the most fundamental tasks in SAP Finance.
Look, what you've just done isn't just about posting one transaction. You've built the foundation. You now understand how master data and transactions actually talk to each other inside the system. So the real question is, now that you have this key, what door are you going to open next?